안녕.
I've been waiting a long time to do this. Alright, so the first episode of Seven Deadly Sins was aired on October 5th, 2014, and the last episode was aired June 23rd of 2021, garnering 4 seasons with 100 total episodes, 3 OVAs, and 2 movies. The series was quite popular when the first 2 episodes came out, and with the announcement of the 3rd season, many fans, myself included, were very excited for it.
あれはこれまでの暴走状態とは違う。罰を下す。
So, what went wrong? For most fans, I believe it went horribly wrong when season 3 was picked up by a different studio and there was a comedic drop in the animation quality. You see, season 1 and season 2 was animated by A1 Pictures. They have animated Black Butler, which is getting a new season, Fairy Tail, Sword Art Online, and Dokusei, believe it or not. Unfortunately, at the last minute, A1 Pictures dropped Seven Deadly Sins to focus on animating the Fate series, and the show was then picked up by Studio Dean for season 3 and 4. Studio Dean have also animated Sakamoto Desu Ka, Vampire Knight, Pupa, if you know, you know, and Super Lovers, if you know, you know, and many more. And if you've been on anime Twitter or anime TikTok or just watched the show yourself, you know how that went. Fundamentally, this is just bad art and bad animation. Other than being short on time, I don't know if they had a low budget or a crew of newbie animators. No hate, I get it. I'm a newbie animator myself. The proportions are completely off, the movements are stiff and awkward. Man, my TikToks have better movement than this. Again, I'm not hating on the animators specifically. If I got shoved a bunch of animation work to complete last minute, like hell I'm gonna care what it looks like. I'm just trying to get that minimum wage paycheck. I got bills to pay. I am beyond amazed the MAPPA animators are still producing insanely high quality works when they're being stupidly overworked. Yuri on Ice Season 2 when? Adanga Sins movie when? It's been 5 years. I'm still here. Overall, it seems like it all went to shit when the animation dropped, but looking back, I don't think I noticed that much about the animation being terrible when I was watching season 3. I personally didn't notice until season 4, because apparently I have lower standards than I thought. But for me, everything started going downhill in season 3, episode 8, when Gother's full backstory was revealed. Maybe I'm unsympathetic, maybe I'm an asshole, but this did not care for it. So, a quick the Sparks Note version of his backstory is that he was a dog created by a great mage 3,000 years ago and then disappeared for whatever reason during the Holy War. And then he reappeared in the dungeon in the Leones castle and was found by the princess. And of course, they gave him the romance plotline because creativity who? Anyways, she was ill and slowly dying, and she ends up dying in front of him, and he gets framed for her death and is sentenced to death as the sin of lust and blah blah blah. He throws away his doll heart and erases his memory. Look, I'm not anti-romantic. I would have had less of an issue if it wasn't for the fact that all the other sins also already had a romance plotline. I was so sick and tired of seeing the characters only have the same boring motive of love. To keep it more interesting, each character should have had different things motivating them so that the audience has a larger option from the cast to relate to. Maybe it's because I've never been in love, but I don't relate to characters doing everything for the love of their life. You know what I do relate to? Money, revenge, family, even a character being outright unhinged. I live in a capitalist society, I get it. Like, how are you gonna have each character based off of a deadly sin and not play more into that? Wait, I'm onto something right now. Pause, let me cook.
Let him cook.
So, Meliodas, as we know, is a sin of wrath. Okay, he's had some moments of anger, but not enough for me to understand why he in particular is the sin of wrath. Make him struggle with his anger, really feed into it, have him far more vengeful for the curse that was put on him and Elizabeth. Have there be moments where his anger gets in the way of the safety of him and his teammates, something that's actually a hindrance to his life. And then with King, the sin of sloth, at first when he showed up in his like fat form or whatever, I thought he would be the type to always find shortcuts and to complain about not wanting to go on missions, but nothing like that ever happened. The only thing that was slothy about him was like his look, I guess. Nothing about him really gave off sloth vibes, like his personality didn't really fit that. So King could be one of the characters that uses his sin to his benefit. So because he's the sin of sloth, he's kind of like lazy, doesn't want to like go the extra mile. So he could be the type that's like finding a easier, simpler way to deal with stuff, or just, yeah, you get what I mean. Anyways, with Diana, she was the sin of envy. And similar to King, I couldn't really see how that really made sense. Like, what about her gave off envy? If we're being honest, Diana and King, their labels could easily be swapped. And from what I remember, around season 1 probably, Diana did have moments where she was jealous of Elizabeth because Meliodas was groping her but not Diane, which weird, but okay. However, that was mainly done as a comedic gag, and it wasn't really an actual dilemma or flaw that she was facing. So playing into this sin of envy, she could be trying to sabotage Elizabeth because she's super jealous of her, to the point where obviously it's becoming a hindrance and it's affecting the team dynamic. The only character that was able to portray their sin the best was Escanor, the sin of pride. He's the cockiest, most narcissistic character in all of anime. So obviously he's my favorite. Like, when you see the title of the show, it's literally called The Seven Deadly Sins. You would think that each of these characters would portray their sins better. Like with Full Metal Alchemist and Brotherhood, they had these Seven Deadly Sins characters like sloth and pride and lust, and they really did actually play into those sins. So I was hoping for something better or something more interesting, having them use their sins as a motivator or even struggle against it as one of their character flaws. Instead, each of them were paired up and making kissy faces at each other. I came for blood and violence, not couples and picnic triple dates. When it was just Meliodas and Elizabeth, damn. Like I was trying to say, when it was just Meliodas and Elizabeth, it was fine. Well, not all of it, but they were the main couple. They had their own little angsty love story going on. It worked. It was actually pretty interesting to find out about the curse that was put on them. It was cute. I wasn't mad at it. Whatever, it is what it is. This one, however,
oh! Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
Never should have happened. Boo, tomatoes, tomatoes. Why are you as a grown-ass man trying to kill your best friend over this dead little-ass girl? Leave her in the grave, okay? Move on. I could go on a whole separate rampage about why this should have never left the storyboard phase. This should have never left the draft. This should have stayed as a Word document. And I can't lie, each time they appeared on screen together, I threw up a little bit in my mouth. Seeing Ban turn into some annoying simp and making his entire personality about Elaine was so annoying. The fact that he tried to kill his best friend for her, he didn't even hesitate. Pretend that you didn't want to do it. He accepted that a little bit too easily. Anyways, moving on before I get far too annoyed. So, King had always had an obvious crush on Diana. We all knew this since season 1. And when we found out that they actually knew each other in the past and she lost her memories and blah, 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 I was actually rolling my eyes the entire time. And when they eventually got together, I didn't care. Like, it was cute, I guess, but she should have stayed single instead of going from liking one dude to another. But at least she has a personality outside of liking her crush. With Merlin and Escanor, I have no complaints. He practically kisses the ground she walks on, as he should. Obviously, he likes her way more than she likes him. I'm not even sure she likes him like that. But anyways, she focuses on getting knowledge and helping the team and not showing Escanor much romantic interest. Wow, I'm really struggling today. As you can see, all the sins already had their own romantic interest and plotline, whatever's going on. So Gowther became my favorite because him and Hawk the pig were the only ones without it. And I mean, just look at him. How could he not be my favorite? Generally, I also am more drawn to characters that move with their brains and not their emotions or their hearts, in the sense that they plan their actions first and don't just jump into battle depending on the power of friendship and sheer determination. Bitch, if you don't take your ass back to strategize, babes, cut it out. And yes, I'm talking about Natsu. Gothar quite literally not having a heart was all about planning and logic, which I adore. Did he try to kill his teammates one time because of it? Yes. But we live and we learn. Before season 3, episode 8, all we knew was that he was a doll, and frankly, that's all we needed to know. Giving him a love interest who dies anyways, so what was the point? No, like actually, what was the point? Genuinely, what was the point? Y'all make me hot. Makes it seem like you need romantic love to fix yourself. He couldn't have rediscovered his empathy and ability to love through his teammates. Romantic love isn't the only type of love that exists. And only showing this one way to love makes the whole story seem plain and one-dimensional. I also headcanon him to be aromantic. Definitely on the A spectrum. So maybe I'm a little bit extra salty because of that. But my point still stands though. He didn't need to be fixed with love or given that life-saving pussy trope. You know? Perhaps it's because I never saw him as lacking a heart to be a flaw, and I have a feeling that's what the author wanted me to think. But even without his heart, he still had an ounce of care for the team. Maybe not in the normal way of showing it, but he still wanted the best for the 7 deadly sins, and he was still there for them when they needed him. So at this point being halfway through season 4, I was thoroughly annoyed and bored of all the protagonists, because every time they opened their mouth, it was Elizabeth this and Elaine that and I'll never let you go and I love you and blah blah. Naturally, I began rooting for the antagonist, Zeldris, Meliodas' brother, because at least his goal was more interesting. And what was that? I see. Okay. Well, that was a lie. Season 4, episode 15, I believe, we find out that Zeldris is in fact not trying to kill their father, the Demon King, for power or control, you know, the usuals, but instead he wants to make it, let me read this right. He wants to make it legal for demons and vampires to be together so that he can be with his vampire girlfriend, Zelda. Yeah, we're done here. Sounds like he knows the struggles of the Alphabet Mafia. I'm not even going to go into details about why that pissed me off beyond belief, but I immediately dropped the series after that episode. If it gets to a point where the only character I can relate to is a pig, not the same for me. In conclusion, terrible animation, constant sexual harassment, and this aside, the biggest reason I dropped the series was because it was becoming annoying with only using romance as a motivator for the characters. It just became downright boring and uninteresting. I should have left the show in season 3 when they ruined Gothar's character for me. He still served looks in season 4 though, I can't lie. Also, looking back at some of the clips from season 3, what the fuck was I on? Because how did I not question any of this? When I tell you I'm the easiest person to impress, I mean that. Anyways though, I do wish that the low budget animation was the only issue, because if that was the case, I could have just picked up the manga. On that topic, no hate to the mangaka though, I'm sure he's lovely in real life. Hopefully. And as an artist myself, I'm not trying to undermine his hard work and skill. But like I said before, I came for blood and violence, not cuddles and I love yous. So story-wise, this just ain't for me. Anyways, that's all for this video. If I sounded a little bit tired, it's because I am. It's 1 a.m. Let me know if you dropped this series for the same or similar reasons, if you dropped it for different reasons, if you actually think I'm just talking shit and this is the best story ever. Let me know. I'm nosy. I'm curious. Remember to like this video if you liked it and subscribe, because I would really, really and truly appreciate it. Thank you. I still don't have an outro, so bye.